The sharp, stinging smell of antiseptic pierced my nose like needles. My eyelids were heavy, and every breath tugged at the fresh incision in my abdomen. I lay on my side in the hospital bed. The sheets were white and cold, draining what little warmth was left in my body. The doctor had just finished his rounds. His voice came muffled through his mask. "Ms. Walker, your surgery was a success, but recovery is no joke. You'll need someone to take care of you." My heart tightened. I forced a pale smile. "Thank you, doctor. I understand." I reached for the phone on the bedside table. My fingers were trembling icy cold. When the screen lit up, I found the familiar number and pressed call. The dial tone rang out, each beep like a hammer pounding on my already fragile nerves. Finally, the line clicked. Daniel's voice came through, tinged with a trace of irritation I might have missed if I didn't know him so well. "Mom? What is it? I'm kind of in the middle of something." My throat was dry. I spoke gently, almost afraid to take up space. "Daniel, I just came out of surgery. The doctor says I need someone to help me for the next few days." "Oh my God, didn't I tell you? I'm out of town on a business trip. It's critical. They really can't do this without me." His words came fast, his tone even faster, like he was in a race to get off the phone before I said anything else. "You're out of town? What a coincidence." My voice dropped. I felt my heart sinking like a stone in deep water. "When will you be back?" "No idea. Maybe 3 days. Maybe a week. Just hire a nurse. If it's too expensive, I'll send more money." He cut me off. His words came like bullets from a machine gun. "Mom, my manager's calling me. I have to go. Take care of yourself. Daniel." But the line had already gone dead. The cold beep echoed in my ear like a slap. The room fell silent. Too silent. Only the ticking of the wall clock echoed, tick tick, each one tapping on the hollow space in my chest. I instinctively opened Facebook. A bright red notification glared at me like a siren. It was Heather's newest post, one of those 9 photo collages. "Happy birthday to the best parents in the world. Wishing you health, joy, and sunshine every day," she'd written, syrupy sweet, above a set of perfectly edited photos. In the pictures, she had her arms linked with her mom and dad, smiling so brightly it outshone the flash. The background was an over-the-top banquet hall, with crystal chandeliers hanging like frozen waterfalls. The dining tables stretched on endlessly, piled high with seafood towers, steaks, foie gras, luxury you could taste just by looking. My fingers scrolled through the images one by one. The deeper I went, the tighter my chest clenched. By the 7th photo, my breath caught in my throat. In the bottom right corner, half obscured and slightly blurred, was a face I knew like the back of my hand. Daniel. He was in a crisp suit, raising a champagne glass to Heather's parents, wearing a grin so polite it made my stomach churn. An urgent business trip. A project he couldn't walk away from. Every word from that phone call now echoed back, one after the other, slapping me in the face. So this was his business trip. This was the all-important project. A wave of cold surged from the soles of my feet to the crown of my head, freezing the blood in my veins. The images blurred and twisted in my mind, entangling with his lies, slicing into the softest part of my heart like a poisoned blade. And just like that, the past 10 years came flooding back, years I had quietly sacrificed piece by piece. I remembered how I pinched pennies to save every dollar. The moment my Social Security check hit the account, most of it went straight to Daniel, for the mortgage. I remembered scrubbing floors as a janitor to help them get a new car. My hands cracked in the winter, bleeding like splintered bark. I remembered Heather once casually saying, "Mom, we're a little tight this month," and how I handed her the money I'd saved for my own medical exam, so Leo could stay in his private tutoring program. And what about me? My coat, 8 years old, sleeves worn down to fuzz. I couldn't bear to replace it. Now I lay here alone in this freezing hospital room on a mattress hard as stone, debating whether I could even afford a nurse. I gave everything to my son. And this is what I got in return. A lie and complete neglect. My eyes burned. Tears surged before I could stop them. I bit down hard on my lip, swallowing the sob clawing its way up my throat. No matter how much it hurt, this last scrap of dignity I was going to keep for myself. The door creaked open and a young nurse stepped into the room carrying a tray of medications. "Time to change your dressing, Ms. Walker." Her voice was crisp and gentle, the kind of softness only a seasoned nurse could master. She worked quickly, cleaning the incision with practiced ease. The swab brushed against my skin, cool with a slight sting. You'll want to be extra careful with your recovery. Especially your diet, keep it light and nourishing, she said as she worked. Then almost casually, no one from your family here today? Isn't someone supposed to be with you? Her question caught me off guard. My throat tightened and for a moment I felt the sting of tears again. I forced myself to answer, keeping my tone flat and even. He's busy with work. Just couldn't get away. The words sounded hollow even to me. Her hand paused briefly. Something flickered in her eyes, a look I couldn't quite ignore. But then she put on a professional smile again. Work stress is real for young folks these days. Still, when a parent's in the hospital, you'd think they'd make the time, she added lightly, but her voice carried a faint edge of disbelief. As if suddenly remembering something, she added, just the other day Mrs. Collins in the next room had surgery too. Her son and daughter-in-law have been here around the clock taking shifts. Haven't left her side once. There was genuine admiration in her tone, every syllable sharp as a pin, pressing deep into my chest. Mrs. Collins. Her son and daughter-in-law taking turns staying close. The image from Facebook flashed in my mind again. Daniel raising a glass at that lavish banquet, grinning at Heather's parents like the perfect son-in-law. The brighter his smile, the deeper the sting in my chest. His business trip echoed in my head on repeat. Each syllable rang with sarcasm, bouncing around in my skull like cruel little echoes. I dug my nails into my palm. The pain meant nothing, skin deep at best. It couldn't compare to the ache lodged deep inside my heart. I watched the nurse's retreating figure as she walked out, my gaze shifting from confused to clear and finally, cold. The silence in the room thickened. The only sound was the ticking of the clock on the wall, each second hammering against nerves already frayed to the edge. I took a breath. The smell of antiseptic still burned in my nose, but it snapped my thoughts into focus. With trembling hands I reached for my phone. The buttons on the screen felt impossibly heavy. So I pushed through. Slowly, deliberately, I dialed the number I could recite in my sleep. The phone rang for a long time. Just as I was about to hang up, Daniel finally answered. Mom? What is it? His voice was tired and in the background I could hear laughter, music, the chatter of people close by. My heart tightened. My fingers turned to ice. I tried to make my voice sound normal, maybe even a little warm. Danny, I had this sudden craving for those brownies from Greenleaf. You know, the ones you used to love when you were little. Since you're out, I was wondering if on your way back you could bring some for me. I held my breath. Each word felt like a prayer hanging on the edge of hope. There was a pause, then his muffled reply came through, dismissive and distant. Greenleaf. Mom, I told you, I'm out of town. That place is nowhere near me. And come on, those things are just sugar. Not good for you. His tone had turned impatient, as if my request were some kind of imposition. Besides, he continued, I'm not a kid anymore. You've got to stop talking like I'm 6. Things are hectic here, Mom. I can't step away for even a second. He was speeding up again, rushing to hang up like the call was a burden. I listened to his deflection, his half-truths, and felt like someone had dunked my heart into a bucket of ice water. Out of town, I repeated the phrase, barely audible. So, when do you think you'll come visit? Mom, the project's just starting. It's crunch time. I won't be able to make it back anytime soon. Just focus on getting better. If anything comes up, call the nurse. I've really got to go. And just like that, the line went dead again, curt, final, unbothered. My hand dropped, the phone landing with a soft thud on the blanket. The screen slowly dimmed like the last bit of light snuffed out in my chest. Not long after, the phone on my bedside table started vibrating again. I glanced down. Caller ID, Heather Walker. I took a deep breath, quickly wiped away the tears from my cheeks, and forced the storm inside me back into its cage before pressing the green button. Linda? How are you feeling? Any better today? Heather's voice came through sticky sweet, falsely cheerful, every syllable dripping with a syrupy tone that made my skin crawl. I nearly hung up right then and there. The image of her clinging to her parents at that party, beaming like the world's most loving daughter, flashed in my mind, and now this phony concern made my stomach turn. Daniel told me you were in the hospital. Ugh, such terrible timing. Of all weeks he just had to be out of town. The project is so demanding. But don't worry, as soon as he wraps it up, we'll be there first thing to visit. Her voice oozed with regret and manufactured empathy. I dug my nails into my palm, grounding myself with the sharp sting, doing everything I could not to snap. Linda, if you need anything seriously, just tell me. I can send food right to the hospital. So much easier than worrying about anyone coming in person, right? Her chirpy tone continued, like she was reading from a customer service script soaked in honey. The more she spoke, the colder I felt. I'd given everything to them. And now that I was laid up in a hospital bed, my son vanished behind a convenient business trip, while my daughter-in-law offered me takeout like I was a favor to be outsourced. No thank you, I said, my voice low and raspy. I have everything I need. The nurse here, Naomi, has been taking excellent care of me. If she caught the chill in my tone, she didn't show it. Oh good. That's great to hear. Just rest up and don't stress about anything, okay? We're just a call away. I'd had enough. Goodbye, I said flatly. And I hit end call before she could spit out another saccharine word. Silence swallowed the room again. I stared up at the ceiling, blank and motionless. While I lay here, unable to even sit up on my own, my son and his wife were somewhere else, clinking glasses and laughing with her parents. I was nothing more than a minor inconvenience. A box to be checked, a problem to be managed. A knock at the door snapped me out of my spiral. Linda, can I come in? Came a warm, familiar voice from the hallway. It was Carol Harris, my neighbor of over 40 years and the closest thing I had to a sister. Carol, come on in, I called back quickly. She pushed the door open, a thermal container in hand and her usual look of warm concern on her face. Bob mentioned you were in the hospital. How are you holding up? I brought you some chicken soup. Carol and I had lived across from each other since we were young wives, just learning how to balance babies and bills. We'd been through marriages, widowhood, holidays, and heartbreak together. And the moment I saw her, the last thread holding my composure together snapped. I reached out and grabbed her hand as the tears came, fast and unstoppable. Carol. Her eyes widened and she quickly set down the container to steady me. Oh no, honey, what happened? Are you in pain? What did the doctor say? I shook my head, but I couldn't speak yet. The crying overtook me deep and raw. It took several minutes before I could choke out the story. The lies about the business trip, the Facebook photos, the smiles and champagne and candlelight. I told her everything. By the time I finished, Carol's face was stone. Her eyebrows were drawn so tight I thought they'd snap in half. Daniel and Heather, those selfish little brats, she snapped, rising from the chair with a jolt. She started pacing, arms flailing as she let the fury loose. Linda, you have bent over backwards for those two. You paid their mortgage. You worked winter shifts cleaning houses so they could get a better car. You skipped your own medical checkups just so Leo could go to a damn tutoring center. And now this. You're lying in a hospital bed and they're off playing rich in a chandelier palace and feeding you lies. Her voice rose, practically vibrating with rage. I've seen dogs treat their owners with more loyalty. This is monstrous. I sat there, silent, letting the heat of her anger thaw the ice that had been building in my chest. She wasn't wrong. I had spent years pouring every ounce of love, money, and energy into that family. And what did I get in return? Lies. Neglect. Being left to rot. Carol, it hurts so much, I whispered, pressing my hand to my chest. My tears were drying, but the sobs still caught in my throat. She gripped my hand tightly, her gaze fierce. Linda, this ends now. They don't get to treat you like this and walk away clean. We are not letting them get away with it. Her words hit me like a bolt of light. Suddenly, there was a crack in the darkness, just enough to see a path I hadn't dared to imagine before. He was right. I couldn't keep doing this. Suffering in silence, swallowing pain, crying into my pillow like it didn't matter. Carol's words hit me like wildfire, scorching through the barren ground I'd let grow inside my chest. And suddenly, something that had been dead for years sparked to life. All the buried hurt, all the sacrifices dressed up as just what a mother does. They came roaring up from the deep, no longer content to stay hidden. Linda, listen to me. Carol gripped my icy hands, her warmth steady, unshakable, like she could anchor me to the ground. They think you'll just keep taking it. Keep giving. Keep retreating. We are done playing that part. Each word struck like a hammer, landing square on the rawest parts of my soul. Why did I have to be the one holding this family up, only to be tossed aside when I finally faltered? I thought about all the money I'd sent Daniel over the years, each transaction a quiet surrender of something I could have used for myself. I thought about the down payment I gave them for that house, the one with Heather's dream kitchen, draining nearly every cent I had saved in my adult life. And the name on the deed? Daniel and Heather. They told me it would avoid awkwardness. And like a fool I agreed. I thought love was enough. That giving meant I'd always have a place. How laughable that seems now. Carol. My voice was still hoarse, but there was a flicker of something behind it. Something sharp. You're right. I can't let this slide anymore. My fingers curled slightly in hers, like I was drawing power from my own resolve. If they have no guilt, no shame, then I need to make sure I get the truth out. Once that thought took root, it bloomed wildly. Images reeled through my mind like a flipped film strip. The years, the choices, the betrayals. I knew what I had to do. Starting now, I'd document everything. Every call. Every lie. Especially the ones where they swore they couldn't be there. I'd save it all. The recordings, the messages, every moment of their carefully polished performances. I'd dig up my bank statements, every transfer I made to Daniel, from tuition payments to the car they drive now. All of it. Every crumb of proof they thought I was too weak, too soft, too motherly to collect. Carol's eyes lit up as she saw the shift in me. There's the Linda I know. You've never been anyone's doormat. She thumped her chest lightly. I've got your back. Whatever you need. Those words warmed something in me. After all the rejection, all the loneliness, this was what solidarity felt like. In the days that followed, I kept up appearances. I rested when Naomi told me to. I smiled politely. But underneath it all, I was a woman in motion. Every time Daniel or Heather called, I quietly tapped the record button on my phone. Even Naomi noticed the change in me, told me I looked different. Said my eyes were sharp again. Focused. He was right. And then one gray afternoon the door opened. Daniel and Heather walked in, one behind the other, arms full of fruit baskets and elegantly packaged vitamins. On the surface, picture perfect. Behind the curtain, rotten to the core. Daniel's hair was mussed, dark circles smudged under his eyes. The first thing out of his mouth was a dramatic sigh as he dropped the gifts onto the side table. Mom, I finally made it back. That trip killed me. Non-stop meetings. I swear I'm running on fumes, he said, giving his back a little stretch, eyebrows furrowed like a wrinkled newspaper. Heather followed close behind, flashing a smile so polished it could blind. You have no idea how much he worried about you. Every single night he talked about flying back early. She picked up an apple from the basket, pulling a paring knife from her purse like she was auditioning for America's Best Daughter-in-Law. I leaned back against the pillows, my gaze calm and unreadable as I watched them put on the show. Daniel's fake fatigue. Heather's sugary concern. All I could do was laugh inside. Keep going. Put on the full performance. Let's see how long the show lasts. Good to have you back, I said, my voice calm and unreadable. Work's important, but don't run yourself into the ground. Daniel let out a visible sigh of relief, quick to jump on the chance to steer things back to safe ground. Exactly, Mom. You're right. The moment I wrapped up work, I rushed over to see you. He pulled up a chair and sat beside me, putting on his best concerned son face. How've you been feeling these past few days? What did the doctor say? Heather leaned in as well. Linda, you've lost a bit of weight, haven't you? You have to take those supplements we brought. It's important to stay nourished. I looked at their faces for a long moment, then said quietly, a few days ago, I think I saw something on social media. Heather, was that your parents' birthday party? The air in the room seemed to slice in half, sharp, sudden, and dead silent. Daniel's performative exhaustion froze in place. Heather's sugary smile cracked ever so slightly. They exchanged a quick, nervous glance. Daniel was the first to recover. He cleared his throat, eyes darting to the floor. Oh, that. I just kinda passed through on the way back. Still a work trip mostly. Yeah. Just work. His voice faltered with every word. Heather jumped in quickly to patch the story. Her words sped up, too practiced to be genuine. Yeah, it was already planned way in advance. We didn't want to disappoint my parents. And Daniel just happened to be nearby for work, so he stopped by for a bit. You understand, right? Her attempt to sugarcoat their lie made it all the more bitter. Every word scraped at me like sandpaper. I dug my nails into my palm again. That pain, trivial compared to the glacier lodged in my chest. I met Daniel's eyes. My voice dropped, icy and direct. Then why did you lie and say you were out of town and couldn't come back? That landed like a blade, cutting straight through their paper-thin charade. Daniel's face changed immediately. The phony smile vanished, replaced by visible irritation, a flash of anger just barely held in check. Mom. His voice was sharp now, rising with accusation. Why are you harping on this? We're family. Do you have to nitpick every little thing? We're here now, aren't we? Isn't that what matters? He looked at me like I was the unreasonable one. Heather stepped in, softening her tone, trying to redirect. Come on, Linda. You shouldn't stress yourself out. Right now your health is what matters. Don't overthink things. The message was clear. Stop being paranoid. But I wasn't. Not this time. They were slick. They had the timing, the delivery, the practice concern. But none of it was real. I knew now. I saw them. A wave of cold helplessness crashed over me, heavy and smothering. I thought, naively, that confronting them would spark a flicker of guilt. That they'd be caught, embarrassed, even a little ashamed. But no. All I got was Daniel's outrage. Heather's deflections. To them, lying to their own mother wasn't even worth a second thought. My heart twisted in my chest, the ache so tight it was hard to breathe. That first attempt at confrontation, crushed, dismissed, ignored. The room sank into silence again, tense and motionless. They mumbled a few empty phrases, some thin layer of concern, and then excused themselves, claiming urgent work calls. They left quickly, too quickly. I watched them disappear down the hallway like fugitives escaping a scene, and then slowly closed my eyes. A single tear slid out from the corner, soaking into the pillow without a sound. But this time the sorrow wasn't soft. It wasn't weakness. It was a hardened kind of grief. One that burned. One that calcified. If they chose to be this cruel, then I'd show them what it looked like when kindness ran out. On the day I was discharged, the sky hung low and gray, mirroring the weight pressing down on my chest. Daniel and Heather showed up, but everything about them felt forced. Like they were ticking boxes, not picking up family. Daniel barely spoke as he tossed my suitcase into the trunk. It hit hard, loud enough to make Naomi flinch behind me. Heather stood nearby, more concerned with smoothing the creases on her new cashmere coat than helping me. Her eyes scanned the parking lot like she couldn't wait to be gone. Careful, Mom, Daniel said as he offered his arm. The words were polite enough, but his tone was thin and mechanical, like reading off a customer service script. Every step I took sent a dull throb through the stitches in my abdomen. But I said nothing. The entire car ride was silent. Daniel gripped the wheel, eyes flicking to the rearview mirror now and then, empty of expression. Heather stared at her phone, the screen's glow reflecting off her face. She scrolled with dead focus, occasionally furrowing her brow or letting out a smug, silent smirk. I shut my eyes. I couldn't bear to look at them anymore. But the heaviness in my chest refused to lift. When we finally pulled into the driveway, Daniel popped the trunk and unloaded my suitcase with one swift, careless motion, letting it drop to the ground with a hollow thud. Mom, we've got to run. Something urgent came up at work, he said quickly, barely making eye contact. Heather chimed in without missing a beat. Yeah, we've been swamped lately. You just rest up, okay? Call us if anything really comes up. Then they turned and left. No hug, no second glance. Just the sound of Heather's heels clicking down the hall, sharp and quick, like she couldn't get away fast enough. I stood in the doorway, holding onto the frame for support, and watched them disappear around the corner. A chill climbed up my spine and settled in my skull. So this is what family looks like now. I opened the door. The stale stench of old pizza and dust hit me immediately. The living room was a disaster. Laundry piled high on the couch, snack wrappers and empty soda bottles littered across the coffee table. It was a shrine to carelessness. Dragging my aching body step by step, I made it to the fridge. I pulled open the door. Empty. Except for a few wilted vegetables slumped in the corner like they were trying to disappear. That's what my heart felt like, empty and cold. That night I lay in bed, the pain in my abdomen pulsing with every breath, every twitch. I couldn't sleep. And then I heard them. Voices coming from the room next door. It started off quiet but soon grew sharp, too sharp to ignore. Your mom is too much, Heather's voice pierced through the wall, high-pitched and mean. She acts like we're supposed to revolve our lives around her. She's not paralyzed, for God's sake. I've got my parents to look after too. At least they raised me. What, I'm just supposed to drop them for her? Her words slammed into my chest, squeezing the breath right out of me. Keep your voice down, Daniel hissed, his tone edged with frustration. If she hears you, it's gonna turn into a whole thing. So what if she hears? Heather snapped. Tell me I'm wrong. This house. She said she'd cover the mortgage. Now suddenly she's always got an issue. Always causing problems. Her voice turned cutting, every word like a blade. I clutched the blanket to my chest and bit down hard on my lip, refusing to make a sound. So that's what they were thinking. While I lay in a hospital bed, counting the seconds alone, they were counting the ways I'd become a burden. Heather's parents were her priority. Me. I was just an obstacle. Daniel. He just stood there. Listening. Not defending me. Not saying a single word. The tears came fast, soaking my pillow in silence. The worst kind of cruelty isn't the hatred of strangers. It's the coldness of the people who were supposed to love you. A few days later, I was starting to feel slightly better when it hit me, this month's mortgage. I'd always sent the money straight to Daniel. He handled the payments. I picked up the phone and dialed. It rang for a long time. When he finally picked up, his voice was tired and flat. Yeah. What is it? I steadied my voice. Daniel, did you pay the mortgage this month? Pause. Then came the half-hearted reply, dripping with guilt poorly disguised. I forgot. Work's been crazy. I haven't had time. No apology. Just excuses. As if I had no right to ask. I swallowed the anger bubbling in my chest. I'm still recovering and my account's tight this month. Is there any way we could delay the payment? Just until next month. I'll cover it then. There was a beat of silence. Then Daniel snapped. Mom, you promised you'd take care of the mortgage. You can't just back out now. We're tight too, okay? You not paying just makes things harder for everyone. I started to explain. But a rustling sound came from the background, followed by that all-too-familiar voice, louder than ever. Linda. Heather's voice screeched through the phone like a drill to my skull. You said you'd pay for the loan. Now you want to just stop? What are we supposed to do? Pull money out of thin air? We've got a kid. There's tuition, summer camp, art classes. What about that? You want to screw us over now? I shook with rage. My whole body trembled. My voice cracked, but I got the words out. You want to talk about burdens? Where were you when I was in the hospital? Lying to me, telling me you were on a business trip when you were actually throwing a birthday party for your parents? I'm still healing and all I asked was for a little time, a little grace. And this is what I get in return. I let it all out. The years of bitterness, the things I had swallowed down until they festered like open wounds. For 10 years I've never missed a single mortgage payment. My retirement savings? Almost completely drained into your pockets. Do you even have a shred of decency left? Then I heard it. A laugh. A cold, sharp, contemptuous laugh that crackled through the phone like ice snapping under pressure. Heather's voice came next, dripping with cruelty, her tone laced with the kind of venom that doesn't just sting, it poisons. You gave us money. So what? Isn't that your job? She sneered. Your money is Daniel's money. He's your son, isn't he? And once you're dead, it's ours anyway. What's the point of making a fuss now? Unless, what, you're planning to leave it to someone else. Your money is ours. That one line hit like a thunderclap, echoing in my skull, deafening and devastating. Every syllable seared into my chest like a brand, incinerating the last shred of hope I'd clung to, that maybe deep down they still cared. My knees buckled. I caught myself on the cold wall behind me, the chills seeping into my bones. So that's what I was to them. Not a mother. Not a person. Just a walking wallet. A slow-burning inheritance. Something inside me cracked. No, burned, and in its place came a terrifying clarity. That was it. I was done. Done being the giver. Done being their doormat. No more quietly covering bills and begging for scraps of affection. No more. I stared at the phone, my eyes sharp as glass. It was as if I could see straight through the screen, through their pretty suburban lie, right into the black pit of their entitled hearts. My voice came out steady. I'm forgiving. Fine, I said. From today on, I'm done paying for that house. Not a single penny more. I have the records. Every dollar I paid toward your mortgage, the down payment, the renovations. I've kept track. Every dime you owe me, I'll be taking it back. And if it comes down to it, I'll fight for every last chair in that house. Silence. Total stunned silence. Then came Daniel's nervous stammer. Mom, what are you even saying? You're upset right now, that's all. You don't mean this. Heather's shrill voice crashed through, full of outrage. Are you insane? You volunteered. We didn't force you. What are we supposed to do now? Live on the street? I let out a small, bitter laugh. You really think I'm that stupid? I said quietly. That old and soft and blind? I've got news for you. I'm not your fool anymore. And then I hung up. No hesitation. No guilt. No looking back. This time I didn't cry. I wiped the last trace of tears from the corner of my eye, turned away from the phone and walked to my bedroom. I pulled open the bottom drawer of my dresser and took out the old leather notebook I'd kept for years. My ledger. My silent witness. Every transaction. Every transfer. Every receipt. Mortgage payments. Wiring confirmations. Loan disbursement records. I flipped through them like pages of regret, each one heavier than the last. Tucked inside were screenshots of unanswered texts from the hospital, timestamps from ignored calls, and photos from their vacations. Champagne glasses in hand, plates full of steak and seafood, never once mentioning me. I pulled my hospital records and tucked them into a manila envelope. Each document a truth. Each truth a weapon. The next morning I knocked on the door across the hall. Patricia Johnson opened it. My neighbor, my friend. Nearly 70 and still sharp as a whip, a retired nurse with a mouth like a machine gun. The moment I told her what happened, she nearly launched her coffee mug across the room. Linda, you've been too damn nice for too damn long, she snapped. That son and his viper of a wife? They don't deserve you. Hell, they don't even deserve a mention in your will. I gave her a tired smile, part bitter, part free. Pat, I used to think keeping peace was more important than justice. That family meant biting your tongue. But now I know. Sometimes the people closest to you aren't family at all. Pat grabbed her purse and keys in one fluid motion. Let's go. Legal aid. We're not playing anymore. And so we went. Side by side, we walked into the legal services office our community center had recommended. The receptionist led us to a small glass-walled conference room where we met Ethan. A young attorney in his early 30s, sharp suit, clean demeanor, with a voice that carried both confidence and calm. He listened. Really listened. Didn't interrupt once as I laid out every detail. My illness, the lies, the money, the betrayal. He flipped through the documents I'd brought one by one, nodding, frowning. His fingers tapped against the table in thought. Pat sat beside me, her arms crossed, practically vibrating with fury. Tell me, Ethan, she said through clenched teeth. Does this look like the way a family should treat their mother? The moment Pat finished speaking, Ethan adjusted his glasses and responded, not loudly but with a quiet authority that cut straight through the air. Ms. Walker, he began, based on the evidence you've provided, your strongest legal leverage lies in the down payment you made on the house, along with the documented bank transfers you've consistently sent over the years. These can support a formal claim of financial debt and enable you to seek repayment. He paused, letting the words land, then continued. As for the ongoing mortgage payments, you're fully within your rights to stop contributing, particularly since there's no written contract or legal obligation binding you to continue. Another brief pause. You also mentioned their disappearance during your hospitalization and their deliberate deception about being away for business. While this may not meet the threshold for legal liability, it clearly demonstrates a failure of familial responsibility. It strengthens your moral and narrative position, especially if we present this in mediation or court. My whole body exhaled for the first time in weeks. I hadn't realized how tightly I'd been holding everything in, my chest, my jaw, my tears. I'm trusting you with this, I said, my voice almost breaking. He gave a firm nod. We'll make sure you get back every cent that's rightfully yours. By the time I stepped out of the legal aid office, it felt like the crushing weight on my chest had cracked open, just enough to let the air back in. And back on their side, Daniel and Heather realized far too late that this time wasn't just another lecture. This time I wasn't venting. I was done. I was moving. The first to call was Daniel. His voice came through the receiver, softened and suddenly apologetic. Mom, come on, don't be upset. We've been thinking about what we said. Heather and we know we went too far. We should have been there for you. We're sorry. But the words barely registered. It was like hearing someone shout from behind a wall of glass. I could hear everything but feel nothing. My voice was even. No need. I'll see you in court. He went silent. Then I heard Heather in the background, her voice slicing in like a scream across a chalkboard. Linda, have you lost your mind? You're seriously going through with this? You know what this'll do to Daniel's job? His reputation. She was unraveling now. No pretense, no sweetness. Just venom. You were the one who begged to help us buy that house. And now you're acting like we stole from you? You're disgusting. You want to sue us? Fine. I'll make damn sure the whole world knows how cruel you are, how you're out to destroy your own son. I'll tell his boss, his co-workers, anyone who'll listen. You're rot alone, Linda. Sick, broke, and alone. In the distance I heard Daniel whisper something, his voice cracking. Mom, please. Heather's just upset. Don't take this the wrong way. He sounded like a child, cornered, ashamed, still trying to patch up a house already on fire. We're still family, he murmured. Can't we just not go down this road? But the road had already split. And there was no turning back. I inhaled slowly. My voice was colder this time. And clearer. Heather, your threats don't scare me. Daniel, your tears don't move me anymore. What's mine, I'm taking it back. What you owe me you will repay. I'll see you both in court. I ended the call. Then I blocked both their numbers. No hesitation. No second thoughts. Back at Ethan's office, the overhead lights buzzed gently as he sat in front of his screen, typing with swift, practiced hands. Each keystroke sounded like a hammer driving nails into the coffin of their entitlement. The demand letter was clean, precise, and sharp. A formal request for repayment of the full down payment, itemized transfers and renovation expenses. An immediate cessation of all future payments on the mortgage. A declaration of intent to pursue damages for their unauthorized occupation and prolonged financial exploitation. And in the addendum, an emotional but pointed statement, outlining their abandonment of responsibility during my hospitalization. It wasn't a criminal charge, but it painted a picture that no judge or jury would easily forget. This wasn't just a letter. It was a blade. And Ethan knew exactly where to cut. When he called me to confirm it had been sent, his voice was as steady as ever. Linda, he said, the letter has been officially delivered. My hands were shaking just a little, but my heart felt calm. Thank you, Ethan, I whispered. When I hung up, I looked out the window. The sky was still gray. But inside me the storm had started to lift. Until 3 days later. That evening, just as the sun disappeared, I was walking over to close the window when I heard it. A pounding on the door. Violent. Relentless. The frame rattled like it was going to splinter. I walked slowly to the peephole. And there they were. Heather's parents. Mary's face was flushed crimson, eyes bulging like they were about to pop out of her skull. She was already yelling before I even opened the door. Behind her, Robert stood stiff and silent, arms crossed, his expression as dark and heavy as a storm cloud. He looked like he was there to preside over some kind of judgment. I took a breath, opened the door and met their stares head-on. Linda. Mary's voice exploded, loud enough to rattle the hinges, spraying spit like gunfire. Have you completely lost it? You're 60 years old. What are you trying to pull? You want to ruin my daughter's marriage, is that it? Robert stepped in like backup muscle, his deep voice oozing menace. We've always respected you as Daniel's mother, but this is sabotage. You're trying to destroy their marriage. There was the twisted logic. Apple didn't fall far from the tree. I looked at them both and let out a short, humorless laugh. I'm the one ruining things? Tell me, who convinced me to empty my savings to buy them a house? Who left me alone in a hospital bed while they danced through a birthday banquet? Mary's face flickered for a second, but she quickly regrouped, hands planted on her hips as her voice turned shrill again. So what? You're Daniel's mother. It's your duty to help him. Our daughter marrying into your family was a blessing for you. And now you want to take it all back? You're being petty. That's right, Robert added with a nod. Kids make mistakes. It's your job as their elder to be the bigger person. You really want to drag the whole family through a court case over this? Any illusion I'd once had about these two being reasonable people shattered into dust. Be the bigger person? I said, voice quiet but cutting. Tell me, who showed me any grace when I couldn't even get a glass of water by myself in the hospital? Where was your blessing of a daughter then? Where were you? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. Every word landed like a block of ice dropped on the floor, shattering, echoing. Mary's jaw clenched. Her face went blotchy with frustration. And then she let loose, voice rising into a full-throated screech. If you don't withdraw that letter from your lawyer, we won't let this go. If my daughter suffers because of this, you'll have us to deal with. Robert stepped in closer, lowering his voice but not the threat behind it. Linda, you push this too far, you're only going to hurt yourself in the end. That was it. I took a deliberate step back, widening the space between us. My voice turned cold as steel. The letter was sent by my attorney. It reflects the law, not emotion. If you have a problem with it, have your lawyer call mine. I looked each of them in the eye, calm as glass. And as for you two, I don't welcome people like you in my home. Kindly leave. Then I slammed the door in their faces, cutting off the shrieks, the warnings, the melodrama. On the other side, Mary was still screaming. Robert's voice joined in, low and stern like a hammer pounding on steel. But in here I finally felt peace. I knew this was just round one. Sure enough, not long after, my phone began buzzing non-stop. Notification after notification. Family group chats. Cousins. Aunts. Even second cousins I hadn't seen in 10 years. Heather had started her campaign. Family, I'm truly heartbroken. Attached were photos of her looking tearful, chin trembling, her hand placed delicately under her cheek like she'd learned it from a soap opera. She's suing us. Over a mortgage. Can you believe it? Just because we asked her to help a little. She promised. And now she's turned on us like we're criminals. She agreed to help us buy a house. We never forced her. And now she's acting like we tricked her. I'm just trying to build a life for my child, and now my own mother-in-law wants to destroy it. She'd cast herself as the victim. The martyr. A poor, helpless daughter-in-law attacked by her bitter old mother-in-law. And Daniel? Oh, Daniel played his role to perfection. Please don't be mad, Mom. Mary got emotional. She didn't mean to yell. Let's all calm down. We're family. There's nothing we can't talk out, right? The same weak, spineless nonsense. Trying to sound like a peacemaker while keeping his feet planted firmly on both sides of the fence. And the rest of the family? Hooked. People I hadn't spoken to in years were suddenly armchair therapists and moral philosophers. Linda, don't take it too far. They're just kids. Come on, dragging this to court? It's embarrassing. We're family, aren't we? Every single comment felt like a needle. Fine, cold, and precise. Not enough to draw blood. But deep enough to make me ache all over. I stared at the screen, at all those fake smile messages twisting truth into lies. A coldness began to seep through me, starting at the soles of my feet and rising all the way to the base of my skull. These people. Which one of them ever really cared about me? Which one even knew what it felt like to lie in a hospital bed, in pain, thirsty, alone, abandoned by your only son and the woman he married? I scrolled slowly, my fingertip hovering over the screen until it landed on the Leave Group button. No explanations. No defense. I had learned long ago. You can't talk music to the deaf. You can't describe light to someone who's chosen to be blind. Let them talk. Let them perform. I would show the world who the real villain was. I tapped mute. Then leave. The screen went quiet. And for the first time in days, so did my soul. But just as that silence settled, it was broken. A sudden loud pounding on the door. Urgent. Aggressive. Like someone was trying to break it down. I frowned. Robert and Mary again? I inhaled slowly, set my shoulders back and braced myself for another fight. But when I glanced through the peephole, I froze. It wasn't the in-laws. It was Lana from across the hall, flanked by Dawn, Cynthia, and Julia from upstairs. Their faces weren't confused or hesitant. They were furious. Eyes wide, cheeks flushed, jaws tight with indignation. Lana was shouting before I could even reach for the knob. Linda, open up. Hurry. I opened the door, and before I could say a word, they rushed in like a tidal wave of truth and justice. Lana, usually the cheeriest person in the building, was red in the face, practically shaking. Linda, You will not believe what just happened. Heather just went nuts in the neighborhood group chat, Cynthia added, fuming. Claiming you tried to scam her out of their house, that you're threatening their family. She even posted a picture of you, calling you a crazy old woman. And guess what? Dawn's voice was low and measured but boiling underneath. She sent it to the wrong group. She meant to send it to her relatives, but she posted it in the entire building's community chat instead. I blinked, then let out a dry, humorless laugh. Well, isn't that poetic? Nothing like karma punching you in the face publicly. She really thought she'd get away with it, Dawn muttered, arms crossed. But we know who you are. You've always been one of the kindest, most decent people in this building. Julia chimed in, voice sharp, eyes burning with fury. We're calling the police. She just defamed you publicly and we're not letting it slide. My son's already on the phone reporting it. I looked at their faces. These people who for years had been little more than polite nods in the hallway. Now they stood in my living room like a shield, burning with outrage on my behalf. My throat tightened. I struggled to speak. Thank you, I finally said, my voice shaking. Thank you, all of you. Lana gently took my hand. No, Linda. We should be thanking you. How many times have you helped someone here? Watched someone's kid for an afternoon? Picked up groceries for old Mrs. Weaver when her hip was acting up? Heather tried to take advantage of your silence, thought she could bury you with lies. But she picked the wrong woman this time, Cynthia added, sitting herself down firmly at the kitchen table. She patted my hand. We've talked it over. We're willing to write statements for the court. About how they treated you while you were sick. About what they're doing now. Lana pulled a folded piece of paper from her bag. Here. It's a draft of a support letter. I typed it up just now. You can edit whatever you want. I reached out and took the paper. My hands trembled slightly, not from fear but from something heavier. Something real. That paper, it wasn't just ink and words. It was proof that truth still had allies. That not everyone wore a mask. I looked around at their faces, sincere, determined, fierce. But finally, I let the tears fall. But they weren't tears of pain this time. They were the tears of someone who had survived long enough to be seen. I drew in a breath and stood tall. The kettle's just boiled, I said softly. Let's sit down. We've got plenty to talk about. I smiled, cold and certain. Because this time she's going to learn what it really means to trip over your own lies. 1 week later we stood in the hallway of the family courthouse. Ethan, dressed sharply in a crisp suit, stood at my side with a thick stack of documents in hand. Our complaint, exhibits, financial records, and the signed statements from my neighbors. All neatly organized, every page a testament to what I had endured, and how I had decided to fight back. Daniel and Heather arrived a few minutes later. Gone was the swagger, the smirking confidence. Their faces were pale and drawn. Heather in particular looked frantic, her eyes darting around the hallway like a cornered animal. Inside the courtroom the atmosphere was dense and deliberate. Ethan spoke with clarity and conviction, presenting each point with precision. When he finished, the judge turned to our file, reviewing each line, each receipt, each group chat screenshot and witness letter. Heather tried to speak, tried to twist the story. But the screenshots, her own words. The character testimonies, our neighbors' honest accounts. The bank records, irrefutable. They buried her defense before it even had the chance to stand. After a long pause, the judge spoke clearly and without hesitation. This court finds that the defendants exhibited significant misconduct regarding financial responsibility and emotional care. The funds provided by the plaintiff toward the home purchase and ongoing mortgage payments are legally substantiated and must be repaid in full. I gripped my hands gently, feeling the warmth of blood surge through them. My eyes burned, but I didn't cry. I didn't need to anymore. Outside the courthouse my neighbors were waiting. We knew you'd win. Julia cheered, waving her cane in the air like a flag. Didn't we say she'd win? I smiled, and for the first time in a long while the smile felt real. Light. Earned. Behind us, Heather and Daniel disappeared down the courthouse steps. No tantrums. No excuses. No backward glances. They left like ghosts, finally forced to live in the world they built. Me. I walked forward. A few months later I sold the house, the one I paid for, the one they tried to steal. I used the money to start fresh in a quiet little town just outside the city. I rented a small room at the local senior center where I taught arts and crafts during the week. On weekends I walked by the lake, planted wildflowers by my window, and brewed cups of strong sweet tea in the late afternoons. One day I received a card in the mail. It was from Cynthia. On the front was a watercolor of two hands holding wildflowers. Inside she had written, "Linda, we're so proud of you." I ran my fingers over the ink and whispered softly, "Thank you. You're my family now." Sunlight poured through the window, falling gently across my face. For the first time in years I felt no weight on my chest. No invisible leash. No unfinished story. I had fought for myself. I had spoken the truth. And I had won. In the end, I wasn't just a mother who was used. I was Linda. A woman who said no, who said enough, and who finally said me. That was my victory. And it was mine alone.